Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to make a disclaimer. My opinions are my own and not the Institute of World Politics, which is my employer. And as far as everything else, I'm glad most people don't have COVID haircuts. So that makes me happy. It means Poland's moving along. I get my hair cut by my wife. So there we go as far as organization. Now, a few points. America's far gone. You have every right to be smug about the Intermarium. And it is mostly because of faith. But I agree with Professor Zybertowicz to the extent that ratio is important. He forgot about faith. He's scared of faith. Not everybody has a gift of faith, but bless him. As he knows, I love him. Ratio et fides is what we need to face current times, so at any time. As far as other American issues that I'd like to mention, one of the panelists talked about the 1619 project and the denial of tenure. Well, number one, 1619 project is bunk. It is a postmodernist exercise in mendacity. The university has every right to exercise quality control. This time, shockingly, the university partly exercised quality control as far as the purveyor of mendacity is concerned, and she was denied tenure. That's true. However, what you need to know is she received a contract for 5 years, a very handsome contract. So when things go away, she will get tenure or she'll get contract renewal. She's just fine. She's not a victim. A 5-year contract. That we are even discussing a racist creed that insinuates that somehow, because I'm white, I am responsible for slavery. Well, that's the face of postmodernity too. So I have something else for you. I'd like you to reflect on a little poem. I am going to feed into the stereotype purveyed by Bismarck that the Poles are the best poets among politicians and the best politicians among poets. Why the classics? In the 4th book of the Peloponnesian War, Thucydides narrates a story of his failed expedition. Amidst long speeches by leaders, battles, sieges, the plague, a thick spider web of intrigue and diplomatic maneuvers, this episode is as a needle in the forest. The Athenian colony of Amphipolis fell to Brasidias because Thucydides was late to the rescue. He paid for it to the city of his birth with life in exile. Exiles of all times understand the price. The generals of last wars, when faced with similar affairs, moan on their knees before their progeny, praising their own heroism and innocence. They blame their underlings, jealous peers, adversarial winds. Thucydides says only that he had 7 ships, it was winter, and he sailed fast. Should the topic of a play be a shattered pitcher, a petty shattered soul wallowing in pity over itself, that which shall remain after us will be as a lamentation of lovers in a small dirty hotel when the wallpaper dawns. Thus Zbigniew Herbert, in his famous poem, he juxtaposes the classics and modernity, post-modernity. This, of course, is a scathing indictment of postmodernity. At the same time, it's a pan to the classical, for it is universal. It is also the answer to our panel's title, The Place of Classical Values in Postmodernist World. Well, they are everywhere. Naturally, the place does not change. It remains central because of the very universality of our classical inheritance. No matter what the circumstances, the Gulag, Auschwitz, or the currently dominant liberal dictatorship of pleasure, aka postmodernism, the values endure just as natural law does. Now, it is an entirely different matter how we resolve to handle the challenge of cherishing, preserving, and propagating classical values in the postmodern world. Naturally, we can set up an elaborate strategy and argue for a cookie cutter approach. Good luck, given that most of us who cherish tradition are not the Prussian army. We are individualists. Look at our panel. Everybody has an opinion, and that's the way it should be. We can also give a general call to a reconquista, an all-out, multi-dimensional effort or a gradual, premeditated one. I am still awaiting a feasible proposition. It is easy then to be smug about the remnant in the Intermarium. It is another thing to handle what's being heaped upon us. Thus, what I am left with is my own individual way to tackle the movement. What I do personally is I ignore the postmodernist powers that be. I ignore the terror of political correctness. I ignore the expectations of the Greek literati. I stay true to the classics. I teach them in my lectures and seminars. It's as if no outside world existed. In my benevolent royal dictatorship of my mind, my students are free to enjoy them or reject them. I teach the kids not what to think, but how to think. I combine ratio et fides. To do so, I introduce the classics. I refer to them frequently. Mostly, I draw blank stares at the beginning because perhaps most of our students have not heard of Thucydides or Homer. Jerusalem, Athens, and Rome for them tend to be like Atlantis. But fear not, they eventually become engaged and conversant in the classics, given time with me. As Zbigniew Herbert has taught us, no barbarians in the garden of the classics are allowed. Should he step in, it is our duty to convert him. And do not be discouraged. It has to be one soul at a time. Thank you very much.